All right, guys, welcome into another workshop. First one in a couple weeks. So I think we're finally back to sticking with that every 2 week time frame for a little bit at least, which is pretty cool. And today we're going to be talking about promoting your older music that's in your back catalog, songs, albums, all that good stuff. And I found two articles, but the one I'm going to be going over is the more to the point one. Like it's pretty concise because, as always, I don't like to ramble too much and go super in depth. So we're going to go over the one by Linkfire, and this is 12 ways to bring your old songs to a new audience. We're not going to cover every single word of this whole thing. We're just going to do what we've been doing, cover the points, get to the main stuff. I'll give my opinion on it, my experience with it, and go from there. But firstly, I want to say yesterday, I actually did a podcast interview with a local Ohio artist who's from Columbus, actually. His name is Joey H. And the episode's going to be coming out next month. But in the episode, I didn't tell him I was going to be covering this topic here, but he actually brought up several good points about ways that he's kind of been promoting his album that came out a year ago. It's called Moments Like These. And he discussed in the interview about how important it is to give, your music a lifespan, like a pretty good lifespan, even when it feels old to you or to a certain, number of people that have heard it. Don't just stop promoting it. Like keep promoting it for the fresh ears and the people that have never heard it before. And he came up with some different ways to get people interested at the beginning of the release, but now he's still working. Like he said during the interview, he's still working on visualizers for certain songs on the project, which I think is incredible because I think in October, beginning of October, it'll be a whole year since it came out. So that's a great example of, someone that's doing it. And myself, I'm about to release a brand new album, a compilation album here in September. And that's my goal for that album too, is to just keep on rolling out content for several months after the release. And then from there, kind of see where I'm at and see if I want to move into the next thing or just keep kind of pushing that along the way. But those are some examples already. But we're going to cover these points, 12 points, and I'll kind of just give my opinion on them, or I guess my take on them. So, number one is follow the data, insights, and analytics for streaming services you use. So, this is basically, saying popular songs, right? Like Spotify for artists is a great tool that you can use if you use Spotify, where you can see what songs are your most popular songs. For myself currently, some of the recent releases are the popular ones. I've done a few songs on different compilations for lo-fi labels, and those are actually taking off. I did a song called Gravitational for True School Records, and that one is, I think, right now near the top. It's like one or two on Spotify, and then some of my singles from Mural of a Sober Introvert are up there. But one of the songs that is still in the top five on Spotify for me is Horizon, which came out 2 years ago. And that was the lead single from Unknown Advantage. And it's still one of the most popular songs on the platform, for me at least. It's approaching 13,000 streams, which is pretty cool. But that's a great example of a song that has been out for a while now. It's still getting traction. And as far as Unknown Advantage is concerned, like I have many ways that I can keep promoting that project. I still use branding from that project. These thumbnails for these videos, these workshops, the text, like the font is the Unknown Advantage font. Like I've always kind of stuck with that a little bit, kind of just like a subtle nod to that project, because that project is very important to me, and it was kind of like a milestone of like the shift of where I'm at in my career musically. So, that's a great example. And just finding different ways to pinpoint which songs are the most popular. So, like for Horizon, what I could do is just dig that back out again and either use it in like an Instagram post. Maybe I post like a photo of, I don't know, I just went on a trip to Rochester, New York. So I could post those photos and then use that song I might actually do that now because I think I was going to post some of those photos this week. I could use Horizon as like the song of the post. That way, there you go. You just kind of dug up a new way to uh, promote it, which is pretty cool. But there's other ways like doing visualizers and things like that. I did an official visualizer for Horizon 2 years ago, so I could post something like that. But that's just an example. It would be like, just kind of tracking the stats of who is listening to what and then finding new ways to kind of repurpose content around the existing songs that you have. And that might not be Spotify for you. Maybe it's Apple Music, SoundCloud, whatever it might be, even YouTube Music. Or you can kind of track stats on and views on everything these days. So I would just suggest like wherever your listeners are, just kind of compare. You could even compare multiple platforms and then compile all the data together and then decide, what song or songs you want to kind of just dig back up and give new life to. It says post your entire catalog on YouTube and SoundCloud. Now, I don't have a SoundCloud. Well, I do. I have a free SoundCloud. I have like the very traditional SoundCloud still. And I'm limited on upload space because of that. So I only have my EPs up there. Some of my original EPs from like 6 years ago are up there. I don't have my full catalog up there because I just straight up cannot do it unless I get the paid version of SoundCloud. I really wish that because SoundCloud is kind of currently operating as its own entity, like its own distribution platform. I kind of wish that they would not really be absorbed, but like get on board with the rest of the streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple and stuff, where it just was all integrated together so everybody could get their music out there with the platform. Because I wish that all my stuff was there. I don't think SoundCloud is what it used to be to an extent. And I'm just not really interested in having to build a totally separate platform in that way. I mean, I have Audio Mac too, but Audio Mac allows you to upload for free, and I can upload as much as I want. Now, do I have an audience on Audio Mac? No, but I put it up there because it's discoverability. It's another way to be discovered, but totally unrelated. I mean, I get what they're saying here, because SoundCloud is still pretty relevant in music listenership. I don't know a ton of people that use it still. I don't think it's nearly as popular as it used to be like 10 plus years ago, but it's just a different era of the platform. YouTube is an obvious one though. YouTube, everybody uses YouTube to some degree. Even if they don't use YouTube Music, which is the actual streaming platform for the music itself, you'll have all your stuff on YouTube anyway. And your distributor, hopefully, whether you use CD Baby, DistroKid, TuneCore, Lander, whatever it is, they automatically integrate your music into YouTube and into your artist profile regardless. So as long as you've claimed your artist profile on YouTube, you'll have your whole catalog there. And I think they're just trying to get, and you can read this obviously, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but what they're trying to get at is that those are very, like I said, there's a lot of listeners there, but they're easy to share files and songs and things like that on those platforms. And it's usually the easiest for the average listener to find because those two platforms specifically are free to an extent. There's paid versions of them, but anybody can get on SoundCloud, anybody can get on YouTube and search for a song and then eventually discover other songs from that. So you want to make sure that all your stuff is on those two platforms because they act as totally free ones. I would consider AudioMac 2 if you want. I think AudioMac is a bit below those other ones, but YouTube to me is a no-brainer. YouTube is like you gotta have your stuff on YouTube. And then what I do is I integrate, I have my artist channel, but I integrate my own content in there, such as the visualizers for the songs. And whenever I do the visualizers for the songs and the albums, the whole idea is that maybe 5, 10 years from now, somebody will come across that in a search and be like, oh, there's this whole project. This came out years ago, but I really enjoy this. So even for the instrumental albums and all my solo stuff, I've been putting together the full album visualizers to post on YouTube. They don't get a ton of views, but that's not really the idea. I think the idea is exactly what it's trying to get across, which is in the long run, people are going to eventually discover that and come across that. And then if, new fans are coming in, you want them to be able to easily hear the work you've already done. And that's two platforms that it can work on very well. Number three, exchange an old track for an email address. This is an example of email lists, which I think we've covered in the past. I don't know if I've heard of this particular way. Usually you would do like an unreleased song, but I think a good idea, this kind of sparks an idea for me, is like maybe not maybe don't do the version that's out to the world. Maybe you have a demo, like an old demo, or maybe like an instrumental version, or you got stems, you got something involving the song and the creation of the song that you can share with someone to get them to sign up for your email list. I've usually only heard of like doing a unreleased song or a remix, but I think you could still repurpose an older song in this way. I just wouldn't make it, and this is my opinion, I wouldn't make it just the song that's on Spotify, because why would anyone do that? Like, they could just go listen to it already. Give them a different experience, give them some type of a different version of it or something. Just make it unique. Um, but there's all kinds of things you can do to get people to sign up for your email list. That's just one example. Number four is release a remix, which is kind of what I just touched on. And you could use that for incentive for like an email list or something, but you could also just use it for releasing in general. You could do what I've thought about doing. I don't know if I'm going to ever do this, but take like my instrumental albums and then do like versions where people are rapping on them and stuff. I'm not super into remixes personally. This is just my opinion. I don't really look to make remixes of any of my work. I am all about the next thing, make new things. And I usually always think very rarely are the remixes ever better than the original, at least to me. There's people that would argue that to the grave. I'm not a remix guy. As a music fan, I'm not a remix guy. I never really have been a huge remix person. I just think it's cool, but it's just not for me. I'm an original songs guy. I'm not even really a covers guy. There's very rarely does a cover even come close to the original or surpass it in any type of way. So I think this is like something that I probably wouldn't do, but a lot of people can pull this off and make it work pretty well. And again, it does give the incentive to go check out the original version too. Like if someone hears a remix and it sounds a little different, maybe they've never heard the original, they'll want to go check that out just to kind of compare the two, and maybe they'll like the original even more than the remix, which I think is pretty cool. Plot twist, or side chat, whatever. Finally started using this water bottle. It's working wonders for me. I'm kind of over the plastic stuff, so whenever I have a water break now, that's what you're gonna see is that Stanley right there. Had it for a while, just never used it. Should have been doing that the whole time. Number five, release an acoustic version. And depending on the genre, sometimes you can't do acoustic versions. But what does that mean to you? Sometimes to me that means even like a live version of the song. So if you're like a hip hop artist or a producer, maybe you just do a live version or like a stripped down version of it, or even like an acapella version could be a great example of this. And you just pick an old song, and it's like what I said earlier about the email list. You want to give them a different version of it. Don't just give them the version that is out there already, because why would they want to check that out? It's already there. Just get creative with it. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. And this brings me back to what I was talking about at the beginning with Joey H. He actually did, for that album that he came out with a year ago, he did a rehearsal show. So the show was like a tiered pricing list. And I think it was, I don't know what he said the prices were, but basically it was doing songs from the album, but they had never actually practiced it before. So you were attending the rehearsal, the practice for them performing songs from the album. So he said, like, during the show, they would actively be like, not really messing up, but like trying to get through it. Um, but like, how often do you get to see that? It's like going to sound check for your favorite band, but that's the show. It's like that's really cool. Like if you had, just think about your favorite artist or favorite band. If somebody was like, "Hey, do you want to come to sound check for your favorite artist?" You'd be like, "Yeah!" Like that would be the craziest thing ever. It was like doing that to help promote his album, and he said he had a really great turnout for it. Not just people that were already fans of him, but people that had never heard of him before because they were just intrigued by that idea. And I've never heard of someone do that before. So, that's a great idea right there. Like, if you wanted to do something like that, just try to make it as unique as possible and just tailor it to you, who you are, and what you're all about, what the project or the song is all about, too. You could build like stage backdrops and things like that. There's people that do visual art exhibitions around their music. I think I don't know if I've talked on here about it, but like teaming up with an art gallery or some type of visual art pieces to put with your music. Because a lot of art shows and showcases require music. Just make sure it's relevant to just make sure both things go like hand in hand. You don't want like heavy metal with some type of art that doesn't make any sense for that. Just like collaborate with artists, collaborate with people in different mediums, and just see what you can come up with. Because there's really no possibility, or the possibilities are endless for that. There's no limitations on that, which is great. Next up, create a lyric video or music video. So I talked about those visualizers. I try to do them for all of the singles. And the next album I'm doing, they're going to have audio visualizers, which I don't think I've done. I haven't done them for every song until now. So I'm doing that. And I'm also doing a video with Sigmund Washington, who is an incredible artist who does a lot of paper mache and just paper art in general, and does a lot of stop motion. So he did this video I'm about to drop in like a week and a half with a song with Chester Watson. Incredible song, incredible visualizers. So we're going to be putting that out. And then I did a lyric video for another one of the songs that I'll be releasing after the album's out. But like I've been trying to actively come up with ways to incorporate video into what I do. I'm not the best with it. I wouldn't consider myself visually inclined. I'm not a great visual artist. I think I'm an audio guy, so that's like what I do. Although I've made video content for social media, usually I'm just using templates and stuff. So like what I would say is, even if you're not super hip to visualizers, you're not a photographer, you're not a videographer, use the tools that you have. If you have Canva, use templates, use layouts, hire artists. you know, go out there and find people that you can afford to work with and have them make stuff. I'm pretty much over the AI stuff. Like I'm over it, honestly. I and again, this is just me ranting. It's all starting to look the same, and I'm kind of just over it. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to go to a prompt and have it make you something at this point. I'm kind of just fed up with it. And I've used AI in social media content, artwork, all that stuff. But even the stuff I've used it for, I'm starting to look at what I'm making now and what I'm having other people make for me. And I'm like, this stuff is so much better than the AI stuff. So I'm kind of just done with it. I don't really see a purpose for it at this point. It's kind of just hit a wall, and I for one have fatigue with all of it. So that's just me. But if you want to use AI, feel free to do it, because I'm not going to persecute anybody. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life or do what you do. But that's just for me. I'm going to go hire people at this point to do the things I can't do. And again, though, you have many options for this type of thing, but pairing visual content at this point with your music is super important, even if it's short form content for TikTok, things like that. But there's so many ways to do it. Just find whatever works best for you. Album anniversary campaign. I haven't done one of these yet, but I do kind of like to think about posting like anniversaries for albums. My One of my favorite artists, Lupe Fiasco, he does this with every one of his albums. I notice this every year. No matter which album it is, he always posts an anniversary post for the album, and it's cool because you can go in the comments and like read people's stories about what does that album mean to them. Like someone will say like, oh, this album, I remember where I was in college, and I had just, I was working like part time at McDonald's, and like I used to listen to this every day when I walked to work in the snow, like things like that. It's like you can kind of see how music brings people together through those posts. Um, and depending on like how big your fan base is, you'll have people engage with that. Now, starting out, you're probably not going to have like stuff like that happen, but I think it's great to just acknowledge your work, like how far you've come. And it's good to kind of look back on what you've done before to help you appreciate where you're headed next. And yeah, I've definitely thought about doing that with a lot of my projects. I even get, my distributor will send me anniversary reminders of certain releases. And even that is like a great thing to get, because you remember, to kind of takes you back to where you were when you were making that type of music, or when you put that body of work together. And then I don't know, it creates that kind of feeling of like appreciation for what you've done and what, how far you've come, things like that. But yeah, I would say anniversary posts of any kind are great. But even if you want to do like a re-release, maybe you want to put bonus tracks. I've seen a lot of artists doing. I think Most Def actually just did one for I forget which album, Ecstatic, I think is the album. But I think he just did like a 20th anniversary re-release. I don't know if there's any bonus tracks. There's options for this too. Like you could do, depending on how long it's been, you could do a remastered version, a remixed version. You could do a version with bonus tracks, obviously. You could do a version that's just a cappella, or have like side A, side B with instrumentals. Common did one last year for B. It was the 20th anniversary of B, and he re-released his as the original album on one and then the instrumentals on the other, which had never been released, I don't think. So that was a big deal for a lot of people. It was like you get these Kanye and Jay Dilla instrumentals on this other side. And yeah, that was pretty cool. So that's just like some examples of what you could do. But you could do shows even around an older project, like, oh, this is the 10-year anniversary show of whatever this is. And speaking of Lupe Fiasco, that was another show that I went to, or another example of how he did an album anniversary. He did the Food and Liquor 15-year anniversary tour, and I went to the stop in Cleveland. And this year is the 20th anniversary. So I'm intrigued to see if he is going to do anything for the 20th anniversary, which is next month. But yeah, that's again another great example of that. We got a few more to go here. 8 is play some oldies in your next live stream. So this is obviously if you do live streaming, Twitch, YouTube live, whatever it is, even Instagram live, if you're able to still do it, just play some of your older songs in the set. But this could apply to the live performing aspect. Whatever it is, just always keep some of your classics in there. And obviously, the fans that have been there forever will appreciate it. But I think that it will allow other people that have never heard it, whatever song or songs that is, it allow them to hear and hopefully say, wow, let me go look that up. Let me go add that to my playlist, whatever it might be. Sounds pretty self explanatory. Chop up your songs. This it kind of talks about. It actually gives the specific example of Fleetwood Mac's song from 1977. I remember this. This was a few years ago. I don't know if it was "Go Your Own Way." I don't know which song it was, but yeah, Fleetwood Mac blew up with like high school kids recently in the last like 5 or 6 years, and it was pretty crazy because I remember being like, I grew up listening to a lot of 70s and 80s music. So I grew up listening to Fleetwood Mac all the time. Didn't always know who it was, but like I knew who that band was because my dad listens to that era of music. And I just thought it was funny because it was like all these kids were just discovering Fleetwood Mac through TikTok. But yeah, I mean, the chances of you going viral like that probably not very high, especially now because everything is pretty saturated. But yeah, I mean, using that's again, it's kind of obvious now. It's like using your audio on those platforms with the short form video content. You just never know. And I've heard some instances with independent artists where it doesn't necessarily go viral, but they do see a boost of people using it. It just depends on what the song's about. All that stuff is so random, you know. And for someone like myself that just makes instrumentals, it's like that's probably never going to happen for me. But I just hope that people are able to use my beats and like background music for whatever it is, making coffee or whatever. It's like that's cool enough for me. But if you make music with lyrics, depending on what you were talking about in the song, somebody could purpose that into or repurpose that into something that has a whole different meaning. Now that could be good or bad, it's all random. I don't know how any of this stuff works. I'm getting too old for this stuff, man. I don't really keep up with it too much. But yeah, I mean that's at this point, if you're not doing that type of stuff, you don't have your music even on TikTok, like figure out how to at least get it on there because you never know what might happen. Number 10 is rotate through your back catalog for Throwback Thursday posts. Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes with the album anniversary stuff too. You could just post any given week about an old song or album and just, I would give like, not really like a full novel, but maybe write a little paragraph about the experience of creating that song or project and just kind of take people back to that moment. Maybe give like a why it means so much to you sort of deal. Or just show appreciation for it in the post. And that could be Throwback Thursday, or it just could be, like I said, a random day of the week. But that all ties into the social media stuff and ways you can use that to shed light on the older stuff. Number 11 is pitch Spotify playlists to or curate your own. Now I will say on Submit Hub, which I use a lot, there are limitations to this. If you are trying to submit something that was released 5 years ago, a lot of these curators tell you no because they want something that is fresh within the last 6 to 12 months. So that kind of sucks, but that is where the curation of your own stuff comes into play. I made my own playlist on Spotify that has all of my songs I produced in it for myself and for other artists. Do something like that and always keep promoting it. I haven't posted it in a while because I'm not really focused on Spotify at this point, but make like a full discography playlist for yourself and post it every once in a while and just say, hey, if you want to check out all my songs, go here. All right, so the camera shut off on me, so I'm gonna have to meld these parts together, but we're almost done, so this one shouldn't be too long. But basically, what I was saying was just promote that Spotify playlist, create it first of all, but promote it as much as you can. Post it to Instagram, just send it to people, even send an email to people. Let people know about it every once in a while so they can check it out. And number 12 is bring new meaning to an old song. And I think that can kind of be through anything. But I think what they're going to talk about, you'll probably read it in this part of the article, is kind of have it related to what's going on in the world at the time, whatever that might be. And that works very well for like heartfelt music, meaningful songs with a message. Those can be used pretty much anytime, anywhere. And that's why a lot of like certain songs I think you just hear over and over again is because they have a message that is kind of timeless. So you can kind of use that per, instance and per song. Sorry, that was an actual important text. Usually I won't respond, but that was actually important. Um but yeah, just keep in mind the songs that you have that are like that. That's mostly with lyric stuff, with things with lyrics. But even if you have an instrumental, if it's very heartfelt, if it has the ability to tell a story, uh, it could be paired with pretty much any type of visual media or anything like that. That could go into the world of like sync licensing, where you get your music into TV and film, which obviously isn't in your control specifically. But if you're pursuing that route, that is a great example of ways that your older music can be paired with something, even a commercial or something like that. Could work out pretty well. So that is it. That is the 12 points right there. And the link fire is where you're going to find this. This will be in the description of the video. And the other one that will be in the description of the video is this one that's much more in depth, even though it's only 7 reasons. It says 7 reasons why every independent artist should promote older songs. But as you can see, these are much more in depth. So read through all these, check them out. There's some nice points at the end of the article, too, and a nice conclusion. But both of these, I think, serve a great purpose, and they're both very relevant to that whole mission of promoting your older music. And again, this is something that I can't say I'm doing all the time. Like, I'm trying to do it more often and really just give, as much life to the music I put out as possible, because I want to release music that is timeless. And I want to be able to, years from now, keep pulling back these old songs and reintroducing them to people, or just introducing them to people for the first time. And I think that's what we all should try to do in our own way. But let me know in the comments below, what ways are you promoting your old music? Have you done this before? Are you trying to do it? Um, and any ideas you have of ways that you can promote your older music. But as always, thank you guys for watching this week. Hopefully, we're back in another 2 weeks with another one of these. This was a bit of a longer one. I kind of went on a rant a few times, and that's why the camera probably kicked me off. It was tired of my BS, but we try to keep it as concise as possible. But yeah, we might be back in 2 weeks, might be longer, I'm not sure. But until next time, stay safe, stay positive out there. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Stay care.